everybody, good morning and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host and Disembodied Hands, Quindy, and Disembodied Beard, John. As well as only Quindy in the chat, yes! Quindy gets double mention today, it's just, it must be Mod Appreciation Day. Also, I was ahead of the game this morning, and it's a Luca day. And watch, I'm on time, Luca will not be on, or he'll be late. I predict. This is my prediction. I'm sticking to it. It's the way the universe works, folks. Alrighty. We're going to do NMM today. Get this gold in place, get this yellow in place to complete our kind of red, yellow, blue color scheme. Although there's other stuff going on. Also, very few of my color schemes exist with just 3 colors these days. It's usually there's an accent somewhere. Alrighty. Almost always. So my colors for my shadow is 50-50 brown liner, russet brown. We have some rich leather. We have a drop of rich leather, 3 drops of lantern yellow, and a drop of white. We have 2 and 2, lantern yellow and white, and we have white. Ah. Yeah, I know he hasn't been on. Stuff has happened. Come on, Luca. You can do it. Things with white in them, I'm going to put an extra drop of water in. It's also going to help to keep my paint dry, or sorry, to help my paint wet, since it's warm out and my window's open and the humidity is not atrocious. I'm going to keep that. All right, let's go there. But it would totally be par for the course for Anne to be on exactly at the right time. So we're going to start at the right and we're going to mix backwards. White and yellow. And actually I'm going to need more white. I can see that right away. This should be a light yellow. This gold has a very bright light yellow highlight. I'm on time, everybody else is late. Yeah. It's actually amazing that I did end up with energy this morning, considering that I looked up after telling David that it was 10:30. I went to finish my journal and stuff for the night. I look up, it's 11. I've been expecting him to come out and interrupt me because he comes out to Kiki out. He still isn't out. It's 11:04. I'm fudge this, I'm grr. So I just I just take Kiki to bed. And I get ready for bed. I turn off the lights, except for our little nightlight thing that we keep on just when we're getting ready for bed to kind of reduce the blue light load in our environment. And then he comes in and he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "But I thought it was 10:30." And I'm like, "That was an hour ago." No, I'm never on time, lady. I always I'm usually running just a little late because of stuff and things. And all the things I cram into my morning leading up to this point. Yeah, a little. So somebody asked yesterday in the chat about whether I'd ever mixed colors, whether I'd ever duplicated a color by using a different formula. Not on the paint line, except for the pure whites, the white colors. Obviously when you're mixing a white, you have to still arrive at pure white, but you have to do it differently if you're like me and you don't want to just use the same formula for every white and sell it under different names, which I always thought was kind of no. So that's just me though. So this color is very yellow ochre, but it's made by mixing rich leather and lantern yellow. There are many ways to arrive at a color if you're only looking at the hue. But you're also looking at things like transparency and finish. Those are the 3 things when you're looking at a color, matching a color as far as when it's dry and everything. Still no power. Day 7. Oh, hyper. That's terrible. Somebody at your power company needs a talking to. That said, I do want this to be a bit more opaque, because the thing about coming to this color in this manner is that it goes very transparent, much more transparent than a yellow ochre would. Well, welcome to the Dark Ages as far as the no power thing goes, right? Like, you can just pretend that you're like Abraham Lincoln, like reading by candlelight in his little log cabin when he was a kid. Looking on the bright side. Anne is always looking on the bright side. It always gives me an appreciation for what life was like before, like, electricity. And even then, we usually have it better, because usually the power will go out, but like the water will still function, things like that. Whereas back in those days, you didn't have running water or electricity, and humans lived just fine. So that's what I always tell myself when I'm like grumping and groaning and trying to, get through those power outages. Although the most we ever had was 4 days, but still, I had to take heroic measures to keep our food from dying. But yes, I always feel like having no power sets me back to being a more primitive human. Of course, I still have my cell phone, that I can charge with my car, which also would not have been available back in those days. It's funny. I'm like, yay, roughing it. And then I'm like, but I have my cell phone in my car, We are just soft. Like, we are just humans who are spoiled. Like, we are happy with our creature comforts. And, we don't want to hear that humans, dealt with this for millennia before we had all of our awesomeness. Hey, Slayer. Just to know, I kind of assume that's not going to be enough, and that if you do have like medical stuff that requires a power source, you're expected to like just go to a hotel or something, which is sad because, people don't have the money for it. But there it is. I don't think, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if you have a like acute medical need, they'll try to get to you sooner. I have no idea. Oh, good. Oh, you've got a generator. I understand wanting to get back to your normal lifestyle. But if you get a generator, you're good. That's much better than nothing. Alrighty. So we're going to do the NMMs today. We're going to be doing a lot of small stuff, which means we're not going to be doing a lot of realistic NMM. We're going to be doing a lot of stylistic NMM, which is stuff to make it look shiny that isn't necessarily true to form, or if it is, it's very stylized and simplified because you're working on such small surfaces. Yeah, I mean, I like the internet because it saves me when things break, right? I don't think I would do no internet. That said, I do keep my screen time like lower. Like, I try to keep it at a nice low rate every week. I try not to reach for my phone like just out of compulsion. And I succeed. I've removed a lot of reasons for me to be on my phone other than just to check stuff or to log my food, because I'm trying to eat at a particular level of calories. Yeah, working from home. Yeah, exactly. It would prevent me from working. I wouldn't totally get rid of internet and stuff, but I don't like my phone most of the time. Like I like it because I can text message people so that I don't have to actually talk to them on the phone. And I like it for looking up stuff. But that's pretty much what I use my great internet superpowers for. Fake NMM is the only kind you can do, yeah. It's never as good. See, this is why I've kind of gone away from in-person classes, CHB. Because when it comes down to it, you guys being able to see exactly what I'm doing with precision is like a miracle. Like, this is the kind of crap that I would have killed for back when I was learning to paint. Like, being able to get this close to a painter and see exactly how they're applying the paint and what their brush looks like, how much paint they've got on it. Almost none. You know, like, this is far more valuable to me than standing in a room trying to describe stuff to you guys where you can't, even if you all crowd around me, you're never going to get this close to me. You're never going to be able to see with this precision. You know, most of the time the camera setups aren't nearly as good as what I have here at home because I've spent time perfecting it. So yeah, I'm like, I kind of don't feel like the whole like teaching in person really gives you any added value. That's good, Hyper. I hope you get it back. Much as I like to make the jokes about you know, pretending you're living in a log cabin, I understand how frustrating it is when it goes on for a long period of time and you're just like, can I have my normal life back, please? Yeah, we don't have AC out here anyway, so it's always fans for us. So I'm just doing a pure white highlight right just along the top. I'm going to put my shadow underneath it. But yeah, so I just feel like my online teaching is so much better as far as the quality of information that you get is so much better than in person. Like, the only reason in person might feel better to some of you is that by being in a classroom, you are forced to focus. Whereas when you are, you know, watching online, you may allow yourself to be distracted. I don't. I'm like, when I'm taking an online course or doing coaching, I am like laser focused because I'm like, this is the information I need. And I don't care that I'm not like there in person. I just need this information. But if you are very distractible at home and you find that you're not getting the value out of it because of that, that's fair. Although I would hope that if like I did an online workshop that you would, you know, tweak your schedules to actually being able to watch without interference. Because I keep thinking about doing that sort of thing. Yeah, the feedback, I suppose, except I feel like the feedback is minimal, Hyper, because the reason is that they make the classes so big now. I feel like the feedback is so small. Like, I feel like I could give feedback almost as well. Not as well, but almost as well, in many cases, with you just sending me a picture, you know, like giving the class, like, my text or whatever, or, you know, one of my business email and just, like, getting pictures from students. Like, I could see ways around it, and I just wonder, like, is that feedback that you're getting for 2 minutes, like, sure, it's valuable, but like you could also get that feedback just from me at ReaperCon without me ever teaching a class. And I hope you do. So this is what causes me to kind of question like when I feel like guilty about not teaching a class at like KublaCon, which is this weekend. But then I'm like, but I just feel like it's just like not a great learning framework. Like, I feel like I would want to teach the whole class and just have then a get together for like an hour where the students showed me their work. I gave them direct feedback, and then we all went home again. Yay, ospreys. I love ospreys. Good job. 29 miles in 2 days is nothing to sniff at. That's a lot. That says you kept a decent pace. Good for you, Kuro. I remember when you were afraid that you wouldn't get back to like the point where you could do that. That's huge progress. Kudos to you. But seriously, like Shadow Raven, like you could get coaching, online coaching from an artist. Like all you would have to do is figure out, how to use your phone to like, take pictures or video of your work, It's not as effective as just walking up and plunking the model down in front of me. I can see a lot more that way, but I mean, most of the time when I give people critiques, do you know what I hear? I hear, yeah. I hear that. The person already knows that that is a weakness. It's like they just want somebody to tell them that they have to go fix it. So, yeah, there are people who are just going to learn better in a class setting. Absolutely. But right. See, Lady Katara, exactly. Yes. David is very good at that. David is very good at hopping around to various people in the class, right? And OSL is one of the few, like, subjects that I feel does benefit from that. But I don't feel I do that nearly as well as David. Because when it gets more than 6 people in the class, I feel kind of overwhelmed, and I feel like I'm not going to have enough time with each student. But that's because David's, brain and talents are different than mine, right? I think he likes that kind of bigger class setting because it means he's always like moving from one person to the next. He likes that. Whereas my favorite like thing to do would be to sit down with 3 people who are really serious about learning and have a more involved interaction with them. So I feel like it depends. You are delicious. I hate to say this, Kuro, but I found that when I ate a higher carb diet, I was delicious. And when I went to a lower carb diet, I wouldn't get eaten. When we went to Mount Rainier with David's parents last year, we were on a hike, and there was the snow, right? The snow was still in the pockets under the trees because even though it was really hot out that day, because it was up in the mountains and it just hadn't melted yet. And Kiki wanted to go in the snow, but the snow was in the shade, and in the shade there were tons of biting insects. I went in there, I did not get a single bite on that entire hike. And David's parents and David were attacked. And I used to be delicious. Like, as a kid, if I stepped outside, 50 mosquitoes attached themselves to me. You say that, Hyper, but have you taught a class? Like you would think, sure, you would think 10, oh, that's not much more than 6. But as someone who likes, okay, I have a brain that's not the fastest. I need to stop and think about what I'm looking at. I have to think about how to frame what I'm thinking about, what I'm trying to communicate. And I want to actually like connect with the student and sense that I'm getting through to them, which takes time. I speak from experience. You would be shocked at how much more of a load, if you teach a class with 6 people versus teaching a class with 10, how much more of like an energy load, for one thing, it is, and how much more difficult it is, in my opinion. Now, again, you might have the brain that's fine with that. Maybe you have the brain that loves to like do like David does, right? David's just happy, just flitting around the classroom. And he'll just make a snap judgment call, right? But for years I taught 6-person classes. And it is just the way I think. Like, I can verify this because even with role-playing games, I regularly had a DM in college who would do RPGs for like 8 people. I am at my happiest with only 3 players. Like, 3 players, I'm in heaven. That's all I want. I don't want any more than that. 4, I can stretch it. But, like, beyond that, I feel like the game is a loss. I feel like mostly it's a group of people over here just doing their own thing and making jokes and doing silly stuff, and a group of players that's actually involved with the GM. So, like, this is just my own personal, like, how my brain works, right? And my brain wants more time, more connection, fewer people. Eating hot sauce as a mosquito repellent? There you go, Kuro. 2 to 4 students. Yeah, I believe it. Because especially with martial arts, Laura, I bet you really have to like be one-on-one with the students sometimes to correct form and stuff, right? You want to like connect with them and make sure you're communicating well. And that, again, but that's my brain, right? D&D one shot. Nice. That's cool, Gosu. Pick the ones that are most valuable to you, lady. Like, weigh like the subjects and say, okay, this would be cool and all, but am I really going to use it right now? Like, do I have a project lined up where I need to know this, right? So if you look at, like, if you, like, pick some projects that you're likely to work on, sure, you may, like, lose, your attention span may go squirrel, and you may end up working on different things. But if you at least know, well, I really want to paint this model in the next year, and so I need to know a little bit more about, NMM. So I should take this NMM class, right? Kind of try to do that if you're having trouble deciding. So we're just really doing NMM in short form here, right? We've got highlights, we've got shadows, and the places that face more upward or toward a light source are a little lighter, but we are edging with white. So we're really doing a very abbreviated version of highlight, shadow, highlight. Yeah, the problem is that most cons, they want maximum students, so they maximize the income return, right? Yeah, if you always paint white, then painting white could give you some tricks, right? Exactly. Yeah, and color theory you can get from so many different sources that you don't need a live class for. Color theory is going to be more of a lecture. Right, yep. Yeah, all of the things I'm saying about teaching are purely because of the way that my brain functions. It's very important to me not only to communicate my thoughts, but to know that I'm not just in an echo chamber, right? And usually that means engaging with my students enough to pull them out of their reverie and actually have them like actively listening, which to me means a much smaller class because you're not going to be able, like, you have to be superhuman to like manage that with a big class, right? Super engaging. I am not super engaging. I'm not like the super like 18 charisma person who is funny and keeps people totally involved with their class no matter what they're teaching. I have to try a little harder for it. So, and some instructors are just like able to like just kind of present the information and they're happy to have presented it in a clear and concise way. And the students walk out of the class and they're like, all right, well, I presented my information. Now it's up to you guys. Whereas with me, I really want to know that people are learning stuff. Like, otherwise, why am I there? And because of that, that's why I feel like the smaller class size for me is much more effective as far as connecting with people. Because connecting with people is important to me. But it's not important to some instructors. Like David, probably not. David is there to, like, present concepts and give you quick corrections if you're going the wrong direction, right? That's his happy place. He's like, okay, I laid this out really in a really good way, and then I'm going to go around and, like, I'm going to give you guys insta feedback, and then, you know, there you go, and everybody got something from the class, yay. And he's able to do that, but I always feel like this nagging sense of having missed something if I do that. Hey there, Trash. 51 months. Good Lord. What have you been doing with yourself? Hi. Hope it's a good day for you. It's lovely weather here today. It's my favorite weather in the Bay Area, except for rainy days, because rainy days are so rare. But this is 77 degrees with about 50% humidity and sunny and breezy, which is just lovely. It's just freaking lovely. Yeah, well, one-on-one gives you a pretty, like, that gives you at least a lot of feedback. A con class can be interesting because sometimes people will ask questions that, like, you wouldn't think about, but that, you like, maybe that are at a different level than you, but that you find valuable to know the answers anyway. Hey, Yummy. Nice to meet you. I'm Anne. I work for Reaper. We're painting tiny bits of gold non-metallic metal today. We're trying to get all of, Sophie is getting close to done here, but I haven't done any of the gold. So I just finished the little corners on the book here. I'm going to do her jewelry next, I think. Yeah, Tish is a good teacher. But yeah, I feel like when I go to classes, or when I go to cons, I feel like my MO going forward is going to be, I will happily give you feedback on anything, but I'm not going to teach a class, but you know, I'm still going to teach online. And I probably am, like, just kind of being a silly through not putting some of my energy into doing online courses every once in a while. Because I do enjoy teaching this way. Like, I enjoyed doing a course for like virtual ReaperCon. Oh, good. Yeah, I'm pretty chill. Yummy. I've been painting for ages. I was Reaper's staff painter. I created the Master Series paint line. Then I met a guy and moved out west, and now I just stream remotely for Reaper, which is what I do every weekday morning unless something weird comes up. So on the top part of these little bracelets, I'm going to be painting my kind of yellow ochre color, just so the top is lighter than the bottom. Oh yeah, and I also have a Patreon, and I do YouTube, so if you're new, my YouTube series, I've got a couple of YouTube series on my Painting Big channel, but I do the Fundamentals of Mini Painting was the one I just finished, and then I've been working on a lot of color theory stuff lately. So I don't put out as many a month as I was originally planning, because it's a lot of time, it turns out. But about once a month I put out another video, and there's quite a few videos up there right now. So, and that's free resources, so feel free to go and check it out. Also, if you like these streams, they exist as VODs on Reaper's YouTube. Everything, which is like over 700 episodes at this point, of all different models. Yeah, I thought about that. Pendrake is doing like a once in a while online class. The biggest barrier to doing it is just learning, like figuring out like how I can get a gated environment, system, program, website, whatever I have to use in order to make sure that you can only get in if you have the password, etc. It's just figuring out what the best one of those is, what one fits me, learning how to use it. There's a bunch of barricades there that I need to overcome in order to be able to teach an online class. Oh, a lot of storms, huh? No tornadoes, that's good. So I'm going to take my lighter yellow and I'm going to just highlight right at the point where the bracelet curves around the arm. And I'm also going to highlight up here on the top of the bracelet with that color, the very pale yellow. Yeah, everybody's friendly. We chat about food, we chat about pets, we chat about just random topics. I talk a lot about mindset and motivation, Yummy, because it's something I've been interested in. And so whenever somebody's got a block or a creative block or a creative issue, like I like to kind of talk about it a bit, like what could be causing it, things to think about. Like perfectionism and procrastination and the P's. Quindy is omnipotent, yes. Yeah, welcome. We hang out. We hang out every day, except for the weekend. And on the weekend, I do my own stream on my twitch.tv/paintingbig. And I do, because on this stream, we always paint Reaper models. So I do some stuff on my own stream that's bigger, like this big crystal dragon, who I'm almost done with now. Been making a real run at getting crystal dragon done on my own stream lately. Nope, I don't actually, I don't engage with a lot of news. Like, David usually will talk to me about stuff that's super important. Because he knows that often I don't read news sites. So now we've got a bit of a shadow there and then a little bit of a highlight down near the dress. I'm going to accentuate that shadow and make it darker so that we get more of a shiny look. Cool. Oh God. Yeah, and it's really stressful for kids. Are you grumpy? Probably just leave her be, Zachariah. Oh, your son's last day of high school ever. An era is ending, Lady Kachara. Like, I don't have kids, but I have nephew and niece, and so Graham is on his last year next year. So that'll be like, I won't have any, like, both my nephew and my niece will be, like, out in the real world. It's pretty crazy. Does he know what he's going to do, lady? Is he going to work for a while, or is he going to go to college, or what? So I'm going to take this shadow color, which is a bit of brown liner and a bit of russet brown, which is like burnt umber. And I'm going to accentuate the shadow here between these two highlights. Because this is where the bracelet curves around the arm away from the light. It's usually where you're going to get your darkest shadow. So that makes it look shiny. Especially with that little bit of under highlight is a reflection thing, but the shiny is all about this dark line and then this light line. Beating the final boss fight in parenting. Oh, okay, cool. I had a friend in my school whose dad was a truck driver. When I was a kid, it seemed like so odd, just because it was like his dad was never home. But now I guess they're a bit better about that sort of thing, aren't they? At least some companies are. Yeah, okay. Well, that's fair. Yeah, if he's not sure what he wants to do, like, the best thing you can do is just get out in the world and learn what you don't want to do. Oh, local job, home every day. That's nice. Yeah, that's good. Very few people know what they want to do just out of high school. It's the oddities that do. So put a bright highlight, bright white highlight there, which really should bring up the shiny. I think it'll be a while before those really take over, though, Pendrake. And who knows, he may decide not to go into that. He may decide to do something else. When you're 18, it's just like, it can be overwhelming. Alright, so we're here on this flat shield. We're just really going to put in that under reflection here on the lower edge. We're not going to use pure white for it. We're just going to use like a lighter yellow. And we're going to put a shadow like under her hair there. So just darken that down under the hair because it won't be getting any light. Alrighty. And now we'll get that necklace. You can barely see it, so really we're just going to have one highlight right at the middle. Yeah, my nephew's likely going into engineering, I think. He was shopping around for colleges. He's got three that he's looking at. But he kind of like, he knew he wanted to go into something that was math heavy because he's really good at math. And I think he likes, engineering is kind of like his dad is an architect. So it's similar in some ways, depending on what kind of engineering he decides to go into. But I'm not sure what he wants to do. I think he's probably like, I'm going into engineering and then I'll see what part of it appeals the most, I suspect. He's pretty easygoing. My nephew. He's chill. going to put just a touch of pure white way down at the edge. So I want to catch the light just down there. So I have very little paint on my brush. My brush has a really, really fine tip on it, and that'll pick that up. I'm going to do a little tiny bit of pure white here too. Even though I wasn't going to, because this is the part that's sticking out, and I do want it to come up to white to show that it's like a very shiny surface. So I'll just pick that. And this is stylistic rather than realistic. But there we go. Now we have shinies. Many shinies. Good, good, good. Oh, there's also mechanical engineers, electrical engineers. Lots of different engineers. I even knew a, I don't remember what the actual term for it, but a sonic engineer. She worked with auditory spaces. Works with, I should say. She's still working. I thought that was the coolest type of engineering I had ever heard of. So essentially, when they build like an auditorium or a soundstage or anything like that that requires good acoustics, I guess it is an acoustic engineer. She goes in and she like, you know, they create the space so that sound will travel the way that the people need it to, depending on what the space is for. It's so cool. Like, I thought that was the coolest engineering I had ever heard of. I had never heard of it at all before I met her, so. Yeah, well, that's a skill chain. Like, that's a thing I think school is kind of bad at sometimes, depending on where you go to school. But it's always just get it done, and sometimes there aren't enough like resources to help you build the habits and like the things you need to do to get things done, to take action. And it's like most people, I don't think people like just necessarily, well, some people like easily learn how to take action, but others really struggle with it. And so they can feel like lazy or undirected, but really it's just that they haven't built those skills yet. And I wish there was more focus on the fact that that is a skill that you learn. I feel like we should be teaching people that stuff in school. Industrial hygienist. Interesting. Yeah. That is a weird engineer. That's just as weird as the acoustic engineer. I like all the weird engineers. So here we've got kind of what I want to say is a brass cap on the top of this scroll carrier. I want to edge the top with a lighter color. Because when we have bigger metal areas like swords and stuff, we typically do a white border around the whole thing. I didn't actually go white with that. I went with the pale yellow because I want to get some ability to highlight like a targeted part of it. Yeah, exactly, lady. Yeah. I get it. I did that also. Or I went into school and regretted that I went straight into school because I ended up just really like frustrated with it and aimless. I would have probably been better if I had had some time. Like, I feel like if I went back to school now, I'd be so much of a better, I'd get so much more out of it. But at the same time, I'm kind of doing what I want to do without, like, needing a degree. So it's like, these days there's a lot of debate about whether college is even worth it, and a movement toward, like, wishing there was more, like, vocational school and less university type stuff. So I'm just putting that shadow in there. And now I'm going to, I'll probably actually paint over that. I just wanted to get it in there. We'll see. This is rounded, so technically it does need to have a highlight going down there. But it's also tilted toward the ground. So the highlight's going to be broader and it's going to narrow. instead of being broad at the top and narrowing toward the bottom, when something is tilted toward the ground, it's going to be a broad highlight at the bottom. It's going to narrow into kind of a cone shape on a rounded surface. Yeah, lady, exactly. Sometimes you just don't. I think sometimes some kids are pushed into college when it would actually, they'd be better off like experiencing life and figuring out really what they want to commit their energy to. So I'm going to do a highlight, kind of going up. I'm going to grab some of my ochre and widen that out. So usually on a cone shape, the highlights are vertical. They're running up the side of the cone. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good day, Richard. I think it's going to be a good day. Yeah, exactly, lady. You're right. Because, you know, when you're a kid, you've got so little experience of the world, and you haven't figured out a lot of the things about, like, your ideals and your ethics and what you stand for, right? Which is, ideally, some of the stuff that would form, like, the basis for the job that you embrace, right? Like, what are the things that you feel are important in life, you know? But... all right, so now we do need to put a dark shadow, but we need to drop it down right behind here, and I feel like I need to narrow this down a little bit. Because again, now we've still got to go like we did up here, light, dark, and then a reflection. But since we're on something that's a cone and it's facing down, it's going to be more like light, dark, reflection, light, dark, reflection. So we'll get a couple of dark shadows in here. Now, the closer your shadow is to your highlight, the more shiny the surface is going to look. So if you put a dark shadow right up against a highlight, it's going to look like a very, very shiny surface. Whereas if you give it some transition time, then it's going to look more like a kind of a soft burnished surface. Right. You're one of those people who has no problem executing, Laura. So I'm going to have to fudge back and forth with this a fair bit, trying to get it to look the way that I would like it to look. That's a little better. So now I want that, I've got that bit of that shadow in there, but I need more. And I need to pop a little bit of my highlight back here. So this is reflected light, not direct light. So we won't go white with it. We're just going to put a bit more of a highlight back there. And then the same up here. Well, and business management is like a degree you can do almost anything with. I mean, it's a versatile one, right? So light. So now we're starting to look more shiny, but we're missing our pure white. Right, because if you've got that, then you can like go in almost any direction. There are very few fields that aren't going to consider you. You know, obviously you can't be a medical doctor or things like that, or an electrical engineer, but as far as just general jobliness, there's always admin stuff that needs to be done. I find. I'm going to grab my shadow and make kind of a quick wash out of it. Just so I can darken down these scroll tubes and get some, take away that pure white. And my white is getting a little bit over the edge here, so I want to trim it back a bit. Unlikely to be wargs because he's painting wood elves last I checked, Kuro. Or wait, what are you working on, Richard? Is it still elves or is it something else? You paint armies so fast that I lose track. Right. Yeah, it was hot back in the, medical transcription was super hot back when, like, post my college years, right? There was a time there when everybody was, like, trying to find medical transcriptionists. But now AI probably can do a lot of it, right? I can imagine that. Well, the good thing is, lady, you're going to have, you'll have an empty nest or something. So, like, now you have money to spend on you, and if you wanted to go back to school, you could. Unless you have other kids. Do you have other kids? Other kids complicate things. Ring race, too. So that's the good side, right? Is that even if medical transcription, if you see the writing on the wall there, you could lateral to something else. Doctors do all their own dictations. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, like if you could go back to school for something, lady, what would it be? Like if you thought about doing that. So here we go. So now we got nice shinies. Shinies. Better off in a trade instead of college. You're all done. Yeah, good. So you could go back and like learn something new if you wanted to. Oh, okay, so you're wood elves. Okay. Hounds, cats, and boars, oh my. That's kind of exciting. Like at least you have that. Retake the medical billing coding. Ah, yeah. Oh God, they need competent people in medical billing. Please do that. I speak as somebody who's gotten a bill like 9 months after the procedure was already done. And then again at like a year and a half after the procedure was already done with another correction. But yeah, that makes sense. And that way you can use your existing knowledge, and your existing job experience. Because you're staying in the medical field. That makes sense. Well, good luck. Good luck, lady. I hope you find a way, okay. Yeah, coding and billing is complicated. Yes, it is. That's why it's so weird. Yeah, I bet. I bet it's constantly changing. I bet you're right. I mean, you could still do it, Shadow Raven. Just because, like, you felt that way in high school doesn't mean that that's you now. I mean, people change. Time changes. Maybe try to leave yourself open to it and think about, because high school is not college. College is a very different beast. And there is a lot of grant money out there, I think, for adults returning to school. So, You might not even need to pay for it. Oh, 13 came from the hospital when the VA said everything would be covered. Yeah, fun phone call, I bet. 30 edition Warhammers 90. Hey, that's what I got in. That was my Warhammer. That was the Warhammer I started on, Richard. Yeah, well, we're all far away from retiring and crafting all day. I'm as close as you're going to get. I mean, you could try to do this, but I don't recommend it for the faint of heart. Being a full-time creator takes, if you think, like, billing is hard. Being a full-time creator takes, like, top-level commitment and persistence and being willing to, like, live with a unpredictable amount of money every month. At least slightly. So here again, we're doing very simple. We're doing the top highlight, the shadow, and the reflection. Ah, yeah. Not all of us. That's true. Green users just managed to... There we go. So, very shiny looking, right? That's what we want. And again, it's just the highlights with the shadows and the reflections. That's what you're going for here. Technically, I probably should make this a little bit more peaked. I kind of wiped it out. My little linear highlight down here. There we go. That's fair, Shadow Raven. You could always look into online, though. Online courses. They'll let you, like, figure out, you know, what part of the day you want to spend doing it and things like that. Sorry, I'm always the person who sees, like, I'm the person who sees the setback and instantly figures out the workaround. That's just my brain. Like, it may take me, like teaching is a slow process for me. But when it comes to just, like, making decisions and evaluating choices, my brain is lightning. If only I could do that in class. So with this goblet, we've got kind of a detail-y part, which is very tiny and it's going to be difficult to paint. And then we've got obvious areas for, like, shadow or darker areas, like underneath the belly here. And these little details here. Yeah, right. Yep. Oh, no, I couldn't do it either. I mean, as it is, trying to equalize my time between the writing and the Patreon is a constant struggle. Because essentially I'm running two businesses. Both of which entirely depend on my own time and production. So it's a challenge. But I do love what I do. Otherwise, I couldn't do it. There's just no way I would have gotten a regular job by now. So I feel like with these little tiny details, I want to put that wash on, I think. Let's see. Putting a real light wash on will sometimes let me see what the details actually are. So it's like little dots within a band, I think. right, so first thing, light yellow around the rim of the cup. Should finish my mixing primaries PDF for the Patreon today. So the different types of red and yellow and blue and mixing them, ideas about like what are how does mixing them, various ones, change the mix, and what, you know, kind of best practices if you're trying to do X or Y. Have to do my swatches today for that. I love doing color mixing PDFs, actually. All right, so now I'm going to look at this and I'm going to see. Bobby needs to be like, have a stern talking to about how fine the detail is there. You could just paint it as a band and not worry about the texture if you don't have the brush control. So light's probably going to be in here. I'm going to very much generalize because I don't know that this detail is overall paintable. So I'm going to just try to do a top and a bottom with the little dots. That's going to be a pain in the butt. With stuff like this, it would actually be easier to freehand than it would be to try to paint what's there. This is one of those things where I agree with Ed, where if you're going to put the detail in, it either needs to be deep enough to be dry brushable, or it needs to be big enough that you can paint it if it's shallow. And this detail is not deep enough. I need to switch to a thinner brush. I need my other brush. Alright, so this is a much thinner brush. It's my older DaVinci Maestro. All right. So I'm mostly trying to get the highlights going down this side. Again, this is a cylinder. So really our highlights should be kind of focal pointed coming down this way. I'm going to start putting some white on just to see what it looks like. I'll probably need to. Usually this is just way too, it's like, it's almost not there on the backside. It's just way too shallow. You're right, they usually have a good sense for that, which is why this is like just frustrating for me. I'm just like, there's just enough detail that if I try to paint over it solid, it'll show up, right? But just little enough that it's a real pain to paint. All right, so let's do a line of highlights in pure white. Sometimes I start with shadow, but sometimes it actually pays to do that line of highlight. Here at the bottom, it's going to start broad and narrow, just like the surface. So kind of in a triangle shape. Like that. Need to put probably a rim around the entire foot of that cup. Could also just be the way the detail conveyed itself in the material. I have a papa hair on the tip of my brush. Papa hairs do not help. And remember, we need to do a shadow on either side. I'm going to glaze over this white. It's a little too harsh for me. And I need to minimize it a little bit more. It's gotten too big. I also need to take some of my dark and kind of just block in a line of shadow over here and over here. Like so, and here, and here, and here, and then down the sides. You can get a very, very good approximation of NMM just by focusing more on darks and lights. You'll lose your mid color though, so if you really want it to look gold, you need to make sure to bring that color back in. I'm just kind of looking at my bottom of this there. I just want to be able to see that, the foot of that glass. And now on the back here, I'm going to do another highlight kind of opposite the first one, but it's going to be a reflected highlight, so it's going to be darker, not as light. Use my light yellow for it. Need more fluid on my brush. If it's not coming off the brush, then it needs to be thinner. I'm pretty picky about everything I buy these days. So then a little bit of a highlight back here. So that's a little bit less. That was a little off center. I needed it over here. More like that. And I need to glaze that and get a shadow around it. Oh, Chimera took me for over 200. I did decide I didn't want the chibis. They were cute, but when I really zoomed in on them, I wasn't as impressed, and so I was like, I don't need these. So that dropped my tally down a bit. And part of what I bought is for David, so he'll give me money for that. But I ordered all the new inks and the Shifted Primaries paint set. And I grabbed their angled brush, their new brush shape, just for the heck of it, just to try it out. Yeah, that's just too much. I went too much on that. Oh, bummer. Bummer, Laura. Just from the sound of there being a cherry blossom dragon, I don't think I can actually look at this dragon without wanting it, so I'm going to totally pass on looking at it. So since there's a shadow here, I'm probably okay making the highlight stronger at the foot of the goblet. I need to minimize this big highlight at the foot though, it's way too large. There, that's better. That's better. Good deal. And this is just a little bit too far over. I'm going to get that painted in and think about coming back at that from a different angle, literally. Ugh. And if I get too frustrated with this goblet, which I am right now, I'm just going to move on to some of the books. Something easy. I'll do the cylinder here. This box has a clasp too that I can do really quick. Yeah, I don't think Respect and Kuro's Cats have much in common. Cute Aretha Franklin. The cats are like, how dare you spend so much time on those things that aren't us. So for things like the little hinges, you really just need to hit them with a basic gold color and then a highlight. You don't want to totally lose your gold color, so make sure you've got enough of it. This looks really white on camera, but it's actually a little better in person. There. But little things like this little clasp, easy to do a white line at the top, a shadow, and then a tiny yellow line at the bottom, and that's all you need. I don't remember. 7, 6? It ends before the end of the month, I know that. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that, Kuro, the lack of spoons. I'm gonna wait pretty much Memorial Day weekend. I'm not doing a lot at Kubla Khan, like hardly. In fact, I'm not doing anything at Kubla Khan. I decided I would rather do other things. I'm gonna meet David and Matt DiPietro and maybe Michael for supper on Saturday, but that's it. Everything else is just David. I just don't have the spoons for the con. And it's like, I'd rather hang out with Kiki. Now the box does look like it has like kind of a border around it, but I don't necessarily want to make that. I don't know that I want to make that brass. I'll think about it. Maybe. It actually probably would be a good tool for kind of framing the goblet, so. What, to the con? I'm not really. Like, I'm not teaching, I am not judging. I am going to, like, show up, wander in, say hi. That's about it. I just didn't want to... Like, I always get stressed leaving Kiki alone at, like, odd times. Like, spending a whole night away from her, or she's just in the house stressing out. And we weren't able to get a dog sitter, so I just don't. It's not worth it for me. Like, local convention, not teaching, not judging, not entering is not worth it for me to drive 40 minutes or whatever it is and then stay away. No, I'm not. I didn't get a badge or anything. I'm still able to walk in. Like, I could walk into the con space. I just can't do any events. I mean, if I would have judged, then I could have gotten it. But again, then I would have been, like, leaving Kiki by herself for, like, 5 hours of the evening when she's used to us being home. The lack of a pet sitter is pretty much, like, a no for me. Plus, my heart's not in it. Like, it's just not in it. Like, I'm going to do ReaperCon because ReaperCon always has my heart. But as time goes by, my urge to go to... If I had something to enter, if I had, there has to be a purpose for me to go to a con these days. Because it sucks a lot of energy out of me, a lot of time, and a lot of money that I don't have, right? I'm very conscious of money because I actually have to do Kiki's health testing soon, like hips and elbows, which is not going to be cheap out here. Easily going to run me $1,000. Easily. Maybe more. Hey, Roger. And I'm stressing about that. So anything like a con where there's the potential for, like, spending money or losing energy, I'm just like, I'm not there. Sorry, local painting community. I am a bit of a homebody, honestly. There we go. So right again here, we're doing exactly what you do with the bracelets up top. We're putting a highlight right above shadow, right on the edge where the cylinder is starting to curve away from the light. Yeah, it's going to be expensive. Like hip x-rays, because I like to go for there's a more expensive and a less expensive version for hip x-rays for dogs, and I prefer the more expensive version because honestly I feel very strongly that it's more accurate. But I also have to get elbow x-rays. Like, even in Texas, where vet care was much cheaper than California, I would have still paid over $600 for hips and elbow x-rays. And I have other, like, I need to do an eye certification, a heart certification. Those are going to cost money. Sorry, local painting community. Anne loves us more than you. Yeah, you guys don't make me, like, leave the house and stress out Kiki. And don't, like, cost me money and, like, driving time in the city, which I hate to do. Like, I'm already, like, feeling antsy because we have so much travel coming up later this year. Like, I really have enjoyed my spring where I have almost no travel, and summer is like almost no travel. We have Ashland in June, which I'll miss a Friday and Saturday stream for. But then when you hit like ReaperCon at the end of August, and then late September we have to drive up to Seattle for the National Shiloh Shepherd Show and to visit David's parents. And then we've got maybe a break in there. I keep thinking there's something in October, November though. There's something I'm forgetting. And then over the holidays, it's going to be the holidays, and then my parents with the cruise they set up. Yeah, I saw that yesterday that it's up. Yeah, Reaper kind of gets my love. But I also feel like, and it's just like there's no like painting event near me anymore. Other than for a while we were trying to organize one, but then it was always just me organizing it. So I'm just like, honestly, if nobody else cares. And it just seemed like, I don't know, like a lot of the local community people. So those are reflections, little dabs of highlight down underneath. Going to be just ground reflections from the floor here. Oh, couldn't understand why. Jeez, girl. Ericson's in 2-day workshop. Yep. That's pretty standard. Or wait, no, it wasn't standard. That's $1,000. That's a lot. Unless, okay, so it's not a lot, except it is a lot because even if you're covering travel these days, which is expensive. Like, if you're traveling, then you've got to almost charge like $300-400 a head these days. But that's a lot. Yeah, $1,000 is a lot. But yeah, it's the thing about those things, and Eric, I think, is very good about feedback. I've gotten very good feedback from Eric before. But like with some instructors, you know, you pay that much money, but are they the type to actually go around and give you good feedback, right? Like some of the instructors, there are some very good painters out there who are not, like, who are maybe not going to, like, give you a lot of class feedback. In that case, it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the stream. Is it really, like, that much better to go in person, right? Although a 2-day workshop, you're going to have a lot of, like, knowledge in there, right? Hey, it's a Luca. We actually get a Luca. I was betting Luca because I was actually on time today. Like, stream started on time. I was betting that it was, like, going to be a no Luca day because if I'm on time and actually ready to end on time, then it must be, you know, something else is going to go wrong. So, okay, I'm going to ask you, Luca, like, I was just talking about the fact that I feel like the way I teach online is so much better, like, than the way that I teach in person, because you can get so much closer to the model. You can see exactly what I'm doing. You can see my brush stroke. You can see my paint load. You can, you know, like, you can't do that in an in-person class setting. Like, what are your feelings? Do you feel like, I feel like for me, that most of the value of the teaching I can do online these days. I feel like there's like a certain valued in-person classes that but then you also lose value in some ways. What do you think? Do you have an opinion? Like, I'm very not, like, I really don't feel like students get a lot from in-person classes with me that they couldn't get from just being online. Like, the in-person feedback is the only thing. And they lose out on being able to easily see what I'm doing and everything. Yeah. Right. Yeah. See, and that's my struggle, like Miniatures Den, is like I really struggle in person, I feel. I mean, my students say I don't. They get something out of it. But I feel like class sizes are mostly too big for me to be comfortable teaching these days. And I always like feel like I want to forge a connection with each student, and I feel like I never have enough time to. So like I feel like the in-person feedback is like the only thing. I don't know that it warrants like the high ticket prices for some people. But I mean, getting direct feedback is good if your instructor is good at that. Yeah. Yeah. In-person feedback is very important. Is very important, right? I just feel like some instructors do it well and some instructors don't do it. And some instructors like me, I feel like I give good feedback, but at the same time, I don't know. It also is really like it saps my energy. But yeah, the in-person feedback is the thing, right? It's the one thing you get. That was too bright. Yeah, other things. Yep. That's true. Yeah, I mean, that's what I always offer to do at Paint Club. Like, sometimes people will be like, I don't get what I'm doing wrong. And I'm like, here, show me how you paint. Right, so that's the kind of thing. But then in classes, I think also I feel like compelled to not. There's always the student that's going to like sap a lot of your time too. I don't know. I guess I feel like socially classes are fraught. All right, guys. It is 11. But yeah, you have a point. You have a point. It's like we all need little cameras. We all need little cameras so I can watch you paint, you can watch me paint, and I can give feedback. Right, Kiki? Kiki's like, yes, I want mommy to never leave home again. Well, sorry, Keeks. We got a lot of travel lined up. All right, so we'll leave that there for now. Do you do seminars, in-person seminars, or teach at cons, Luca? All right, guys, we got some progress. Some bling. There's some bling now. Yeah, she's hanging out. She wants her walk because it's gonna get hot later. Oh yeah, that's right. You just came in. Duh. Anne totally forgets. Like I've slept since then. Did you like it? Did you enjoy doing those seminars in the States, Miniatures Den? I'm so sad I'm not in Texas anymore. I could have gone. And Vegas isn't that far from us, but I would just go to hang out with Luca and to grind my teeth at him forcing me to paint with saturation. No. Well, okay, yes. She likes to play with the hose, but I don't think she likes to put her paws in streams and stuff. Oh, you love teaching, yeah. Well, that's why you're such a good streamer. Yeah. Right, yeah. Hyper Bunny. Well, and then you wonder, like, could that person have just as easily just attended something online or watched that person stream, right? If they're going to just walk into the class, say, oh, that doesn't resonate with me, and just do their own thing. You don't really get a lot of those classes. I say that as somebody who did exactly that for a seminar in the past. When we have Jeremy Bonamont come over from France. And I just wasn't at that stage in my painting development where I could, like, grok what... and like see the advantages of his style, and I ended up just kind of like not learning anything. So, Yep, everybody's gonna make some lunch except the people who are gonna hang around for Luca. Please hang around for Luca and make him feel loved. Hey, my family is in Italy right now, my brother and his kids, and they sent me pictures of alpacas, Luca. They're like, this is the alpaca farm we just walked by. They're very cute. They're such cute. Anyway, I've got to let Luca actually, like, do his stuff. But anyway, I thought of you when I saw the alpacas. Yes. Yeah, they were in, I forget what town, what place in Italy. It was up in the mountains. There was an alpaca farm. But yeah, they've been sending me, they've been hitting all the Italian sites and sending me awesome pictures, so. Alrighty. You see a live alpaca with a paintbrush next. Put on your little alpaca hood with the ears. All right. Thank you, Luca. Thank you. I will let you take over this mad mess of chatters, and I am going to go and walk Kiki before it gets too hot here. And I hope you all have a lovely day, because it just, I don't know, today feels like it's going to be a good day, guys. It feels like a good day. I hope you all have a great day. Quindy, thank you for your hard modding. And yeah, everybody take care. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow is Hair Folk. Continuing with the fur. All right? All right. I'll see you all later. Bye.